50 years ago at the United States Open in famed Oakmont, just outside Pittsburgh, that great golf course, inspiration happened just before the final round. I mean, moments before the final round that led to the greatest round of golf in Open history. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to discover the miracle that happened at Oakmont. It was here on the practice range, the final day, the final hours really, of the United States Open, when a young 20-year-old, blonde, tall, striking, handsome young man by the name of Johnny Miller had a moment of inspiration that changed the US Open, broke Arnold Palmer's heart, and is a moment that now lives in golf history. What happened at that moment that inspiration hit Johnny Miller?
I'm 6 shots back, and I got all the best players in the world on the leaderboard. It's unbelievable who was in front of me. It was all the superstars. So I was thinking, well, I'm done. At that point, I was not thinking about having the chance to win. I was out on the practice tee, and I had like maybe 10 balls left to hit, and this voice said to me, "Open your stance way up." And it was like I always listened to the little, still, small voice my whole career. And so I opened the stance way up, and that sort of shortened my backswing a little and freed up my follow through. And I hit those last about 10 balls with that open stance absolutely perfect, right on line, not a hook or a fade, dead straight. I'm walking to the first tee, and I was like, well, that worked pretty good, but I don't know if I want to try it on the course. You know, sometimes you get these little keys, and I thought, well, what the heck, I got nothing to lose.
Arnold Palmer was on the 11th tee at Oakmont, thinking that he had just seized a 2-stroke lead over his playing partner, John Schlee. And then Arnold Palmer made the mistake of looking at the leaderboard. Oh my gosh, Palmer was trailing by several strokes behind Johnny Miller, who had started an hour earlier. Palmer asked, "What did that blanking Miller shoot? Nothing?" Close to nothing. Let's talk about that final round, and let's also discover the inspiration that led to the most incredible ball striking round in US Open history. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe. Also, feel free to make a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get in a Johnny Miller mode. Let's turn that collar up like Miller. Let's put on the ball cap. Yeah, now I kind of look like Johnny Miller. Can't play like Johnny Miller, but at least I can look like Johnny Miller on that fateful day in 1973 at Oakmont, when he started out after he had his inspiration of a total change in his swing, a total change. And he hit the ball better than anybody has ever hit it in a US Open. I mean, those were laser shots, great drives, iron shots that were pinpoint all over the pin, just boom, boom, boom. Miller started off with this incredible ball striking. Number one, bang, hits in the fairway, bang on the green, bang, he makes the putt. Number two, bang, bang, putt, birdie. Number three, bang, bang, putt, birdie. 4, birdie. Can you imagine in the US Open starting off birdie, 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 birdie? Boy, that'll shoot you up. He also birdies 9, and then he birdies 11 and 12 and 13 and 15. At 18, he's standing there with a putt for, get this, 10 under, a 62. And the putt went right in the hole and then spun out and set on the edge. So he had to settle for 9 under, a 63, shoot straight up the leaderboard. And from that moment on, Johnny Miller became just, for 4 or 5 or 6 years, the greatest player in the world. Let's go over the Johnny Miller swing. And it just came to him like inspiration. He said, you know, I'm going to open up my hips. Not just a little bit, not just make a little change, a big change. I'm going to open my hips to the target, and then I'm going to have a big lateral shift this way and keep the club face square. That's it. Open, lateral shift, and the club face square. Pew! It was like throwing darts. And he held on to it and had this dead straight ball, or maybe a tiny, infinitesimal fade. The ball never got away from it. And finally, he did something that changed golf for 20, 25 years. Nobody does it anymore. He had, after impact, what was called the reverse C. And Miller would finish, and he would have this big curve going up his legs and his back. Breaks my back just to try to do it. But man, that finish with that reverse C kept him right on line. Now, we've talked about in previous episodes, and you can go check it, what I say about to be a good ball striker, you've got to have open hips and closed shoulders at impact. There are three parts of the body that are involved in proper alignment. So important. The hips, the shoulders, and the head. Don't worry about the feet. If your hips are in the right position, your feet will be. Just those three. Now, when we talk about open and closed, we mean to the line, to the target line. If you're this way and the target's that way, you're open. If you're this way and the target is there, you're closed. Now, the important thing about the alignment is you can hit a golf ball really, really well with your shoulders closed and your hips open. Like this. The shoulders are closed, the hips are open, and the head is back. You cannot strike a golf ball with your shoulders open and your hips closed. In other words, you would line up like this. And how many people do you see line up with that right shoulder up and out, right shoulder up and out? That is absolutely deadly. So I'm lined up like this, my head is back, my shoulders are slightly closed, and my hips are slightly open. And then we are aligned to really deliver a great strike to the ball. Because at impact, look, the hips are like this, the shoulders are this way. That makes for accuracy and power. Gosh, how would you like those two in your game? Work on it, work on it. Let's try a 1973 Johnny Miller swing with open hips, a great lateral move, and a reverse C finish. Well, the ball went great. I don't know how good that swing looked. I wanted to tell you this. It felt demanding at the least. I'm going to have to limp off now. Anyway, Johnny Miller's final round, United States Open. He shot that 63 that could have been 2 or 3 shots even lower and jumped over everybody and won, coming from 12th place on the toughest golf course maybe in U.S. Open history. And as we say at the end of every episode, may your life and your golf be absolutely amazing.